Japan versus foreigner tourists, a worsening situation. Okay, let's watch this.
So last week I was in Kyoto having a quiet stroll through the entertainment district of Gion. A stunning area where it's not uncommon to see kimono-clad geisha in their striking white makeup wandering up and down the streets. There's an authenticity to Gion, particularly on the south side, with its alleyways and wooden townhouses, a sense that it's remained unchanged for centuries, a rare thing for a Japanese city. That's why I love it. So imagine my horror when a few days after I left Kyoto, the city announced that it was taking the radical step to ban foreign tourists outright.
Kyoto to ban tourists from geisha district over out-of-control behavior. Kyoto's not a theme park. Tourists should be banned from city's famous geisha district. Wait, they're just gonna straight up everyone for going in there? Kyoto bans tourists from parts of geisha district amid reports of bad behavior. Out-of-control behavior. Why Kyoto has banned tourists from its popular geisha district. Look, I've been there. That place was always fucking crowded. But I wonder what this out-of-control behavior could be.
From the very place that I'd just been stumbling around. My initial thoughts were, my god, what did I do wrong? What did I do?
This fucking picture's so funny. I've been to Kyoto quite a few times. One of the reasons why I haven't been more, it's because I hate how crowded everything is. There's just too much people there. It kind of ruins the, vibe that the place should have, in my opinion. And I can see if they're being rude. I don't know, getting maybe up too close with geishas?
Not again. But fortunately, turns out it was nothing I did, although the blame does indeed reside with foreign tourists. More specifically, foreign tourists treating geisha like costume characters in a theme park, getting up close, firing off selfies, touching their kimonos, and even, in some of the worst cases, pulling on their hair.
Wait, what? Huh? You can barely call this fucking human behavior. Dude, you're not an animal. Yeah, okay, that would be bad fucking anywhere. Imagine you just chilling on the street and someone fucking pulling your hair. What do people think? What goes through their head to get to this point, you know? That they think that's not a real person. This is similar how a lot of people treat cosplayers. If you wear your cosplay to a con, most people will know to treat you like a real person. But you have these random people that are lost there and they have no clue what they're doing, what a cosplayer is. And they're gonna just start touching you and touching your clothes and your hair, your wig or whatever, and try to get your props away from you. It's like, dude, I feel like they think that if you're dressed in a way that's not quote-unquote the normal, you just start to be a little clown. I don't know. You're there for them, you know? No clue.
I mean, things were already pretty bad, with signs plastered up the street reminding tourists
that was there when I went there.
For taking photos without permission. But clearly that wasn't enough, leading to this very sad move that I think most people would kind of agree is completely understandable. Honestly, I think the solution is actually fairly simple. Dress up members of the Yakuza as geisha and have them walk around Gion in circles, waiting for unsuspecting tourists to pull on their hair. God forbid, that would certainly lead to some interesting results.
Just have Kiryu walking there as a geisha. That would help.
Stories involving foreign tourists, because this isn't just a Kyoto problem. There's stories up and down Japan that might shock and surprise you. And it certainly doesn't help.
10 tourists carves name into 1,200-year-old Japanese temple. Dude! In a temple! What goes through your mind? You shouldn't do that anywhere. When you're in Rome, act like one. That's not even that. You shouldn't do this in your neighborhood. You shouldn't do this anywhere. That's not even a matter of that's a different country. You shouldn't be carving your name into places that you don't own, you know? You wanna carve it into your bedroom. If your parents agree to that, that's alright, you know? You can do that on your stuff. But no public stuff. Isn't this fucking damage property? It's like the guy who carved his name into the Rome Colosseum. Are you serious? It's no wonder we're getting more and more places where you can't get like too close to tourist attractions because people are just fucking stupid like this.
That there's been some highly publicised incidents involving foreign influencers doing unspeakably shitty things as well. But I'd like to think nobody here
What did
who
this
watches
guy
these
do?
videos will ever grab
He was so
a geisha's
happy
kimono
there.
or defile a sacred temple. I don't want to sit here and give you a stern, condescending lecture. I don't want it to feel like you've been summoned to the school principal's office for bad behaviour. Or maybe I do. Maybe I want to go mad with power. You know, it's funny when I chat to people about coming to Japan, there's so much fear. Fear about making a faux pas or screwing up the etiquette because Japan does have a lot of rules and things that we're not accustomed to while you're here. But look, here's the thing. You really don't need to worry about putting a foot wrong here. Perhaps with the exception of not taking off your shoes and trampling all over.
Like... Most things are just common sense, you know? You're not gonna offend anyone if you're just minding your own business, you know? I think even like chopstick stuff, people are so scared about that. People are gonna see you're a foreigner, you know? No one's really gonna feel disrespected. Maybe some very old people, but like that's anywhere, you know? I remember this. When I was still in Japan, there was one park that was thinking about banning tourists from there as well, because people were legit breaking up the cherry blossom trees. Like, it was cherry blossom season, right? And you'd had this bunch of fucking stupid dumbass foreigners that would just like fucking climb on it to take pictures, and you can't do that because that tree is very fragile. So people were like legit breaking off branches to take home, like plucking the flowers and stuff like that. Like, people are so fucking stupid. As I always say, that's not a Japan thing. That's something you shouldn't do anywhere. Well, let's continue.
Calming that floor. In which case, you quite literally have to worry about putting a foot wrong. Apart from that, nobody here will ever get mad at you for making a simple, honest mistake. The sort of things you do need to worry about are all common sense things to avoid doing as a decent human being. Case in point, don't carve your fucking name into the bamboo trees of Kyoto's Arashiyama forest, as has happened with over 100 trees, often damaging them irreparably to the point that they have to be chopped down. Worse still, there's recently been some highly publicised cases of foreign tourists carving their names into temples and shrines. Just last year, a Canadian teenager admitted to scratching his name into the 1200-year-old Toshodaiji Temple in Nara, treating the UNESCO World Heritage Site as if it were a fucking whiteboard, using his fingernail to carve his name Julian into the wood.
Fingernail? What? These people need to be studied. Why would you do that?
Defiling a culture. Shocking behaviour from a Canadian. You know, you never see behaviour like that from a British person.
Sure.
But if you graffiti a national treasure in Japan, you could go to prison for 5 years or get a fine of about $2,000. Fortunately, though, if you feel like defacing a World Heritage Site or being an all-around prick, there is a hack for getting around it. At the same time Julian was scratching the letter J into a Japanese temple 6,000 miles away in Rome, Ivan was carving his and his girlfriend's name into the Roman Colosseum. Ivan plus Haley 23. Sounds like a fraught political campaign. Unsurprisingly,
Oh my God.
weren't happy
That scared me. I thought it was from the video for a while.
about this. But luckily, Ivan seemed to get out of it.
He filmed it! Wait, that's true. We had footage there, right? But that was actual footage showing his face as well. How stupid can people be? I'm always surprised by that. I go, nah, people are not gonna be this stupid, right? And yes, they are. Yes, they are. And you film it? Smiling to the camera like... There's no way you don't know you're doing something wrong, right? There is no way. Dude, especially if you're doing because you think that's alright, because you're a foreigner, I legit think you should, you shouldn't be able to have a passport. You should just stay where you live, and you shouldn't be allowed to travel at all. Like, that's such, like, a weird idea that some people have. Oh, I'm gonna do some dumb shit because I'm not from here, so I can do it, right? Bruh, like, come on.
After he wrote a spectacular letter
UK tourist who the Face Coliseum offers jaw-dropping explanation for vandalism. Oh, he has an explanation? I wanna see it. I hope they show it here.
to the Mayor of Rome, containing what might be the best sentence ever written. It is with deep embarrassment that only after what regrettably happened did I learn the antiquity of the monument.
No way!
The antiquity of the monument. Yes, that's right.
There is no fucking way that you're visiting the Colosseum and you don't know that that's like an old thing. What were the actual words? The antiquity of the monument. Boy's gonna learn today. He sure will. It's just a building. You know what's the worst thing? Even if it's not something old, even if it's a brand new building, you shouldn't do that, right? It's still wrong. In this case, it's obviously worse because it's like a world heritage and stuff like that. But you shouldn't do that anywhere. Like, those Italians build in weird style, right? No, they might just go, ha, Italy, am I right? Italy and their silly, wacky buildings.
Of the monument. Yes, that's right. Ivan claimed that only after he'd finished scratching his name into a 2,000-year-old brick, only then did he realise that the Roman Colosseum might be of some historic importance. I mean, of course it's a monument of fucking antiquity. It's in Gladiator, for God's sake.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I'll admit I've never understood the thrill of carving one's name into a piece of wood. So,
Yeah, what's even
let's do
the
it right
point
here,
of that?
right now. Oh, and it wasn't the only temple that got defiled either. Just down the road, another ancient temple was the subject of graffiti by what can only be described as a shitty Banksy. This time in the form of a cat. Mind
Are you serious? Why?
God, what the hell were they thinking? Yes, I understand now. The immeasurable sense of power, the self-worth. You tried to. Carve your name into the comment section. Be immortalised forever. Stupid. Fuck it. God, I hate myself. But look, I think for every Japanese temple or bamboo tree that gets defiled, Natsuki should be allowed to carve his name into a historic relic or item from the offending nation.
Yeah, Stonehenge is one of the places where you can't get too close to it, right? There's a limit from where you can see it, right? At some point, we're gonna have to do that with every important old monument, just to avoid the fucking stupid people.
Go fuck yourself.
Only then will justice truly be served. Now, some problems caused by foreign tourists are a bit less obvious and a bit more well-meaning. Case in point, recently one of Japan's most famous shrines,
This place is
Tsukishima,
so
was
pretty.
completely renovated down in Hiroshima. Partly because it was old and decaying, and partly because tourists were shoving coins into the shrine itself for what they believed to be was
A misguided attempt to earn good luck is damaging Japan's most famous tourist shrine gate. Okay, I believe one person had the brilliant idea of putting a coin there, and then someone looked at it and went, oh, this is what they do for good luck. And then they started stuffing coins there. I can see this just being like a fucking domino effect of a single person letting their intrusive thoughts win, and then people just thinking there was meaning behind it.
good fortune, inadvertently damaging the shrine with ever larger cracks and turning it into some sort of massive crumbling Shinto piggy bank. Still, hopefully the hundreds of coins they were able to extract from the shrine could go towards its multi-million-dollar renovation. I mean, when they finished pulling all those
Well-
coins out of the shrine, there must have been, $10, $20. But it's not uncommon to see news stories pop up about bad behaviour from foreign tourists. And one of the most bizarre posts that went viral on Twitter involved this sign in a convenience store emblazoned on the front of the steamed pork bun counter.
Just
A quick
want the
bit of
kore.
essential Japanese knowledge. The word kore means this, right?
Yeah.
And when you order on a menu or a
That
shop,
was
you
a
might point and
foreigner
go,
there,
kore
so I think
shitotsu
Gaikoku
onegaishimasu. One of those, please, or, kore wa pen desu. This is a pen. And so it's not uncommon to point at a steamed pork bun and go, kore shitotsu onegaishimasu. Yet this note reads, to foreign customers, don't say this one and point. Say steamed bun, please.
They're not gonna understand! It's in Japanese! But wait, is the issue because they were putting their hands there? Instead, they were touching the glass? Don't understand this one. If I'm not foreigner, can I point and say this one? Oh, that's true! I wonder, maybe Zeus, if you're Japanese, maybe you can.
Now, there's two things I love about this. Number one, there's a drawing of what's presumably supposed to be a finger, and it looks anything like
a finger?
an actual finger. That's not what you want to see drawn on the front of the steamed pork bun counter. Awful. And the second thing I love is that the sign is written in Japanese kanji characters, while being aimed at foreign customers who probably aren't able to read it in the first place. Because, odds are if you can speak Japanese, you probably will say, Nikuman onegaishimasu. Steamed pork bun, please. Clearly, somebody working at the convenience store has had a traumatic encounter and desperately needs to learn how to draw a finger. Meanwhile, in Hokkaido, the local government was criticised after making a booklet aimed at Chinese tourists that was labelled as condescending and offensive, with this incredible, fantastic drawing of a crying toilet covered in...
Look, if they did this, it's because this was happening too much. I don't blame them,
Hello, darkness, my friend.
filth. Seriously, is there anything more worrying than a sentient toilet who's so technologically advanced its mood is determined by the state of its cleanliness? A frightening image of things to come. Toilets and pork buns aside, bad behaviour of foreign tourists does have real-world implications. A few years ago, one of my favourite temples down in Fukuoka, the Nanzuin Temple, home to one of the world's largest reclining Buddhas, took the drastic step of turning away groups of non-Japanese tourists after a bunch of raging dickheads splashed about in a sacred waterfall and climbed on the roof of the temple. The Nanzuin Temple is genuinely one of the most incredible temples that I've ever been to. And the idea of people turning up and disrespecting the temple by treating it like some kind of fucking bouncy castle is genuinely horrific. But again, their exasperation is completely understandable. Like, you understand why they're taking these measures. So what's the future look like for Japan in the face of mass tourism? It's important to remember that mass tourism is a relatively new concept here. As recently as 20 years ago, they had an average of about 5 to 6 million
spotted!
overseas tourists every year. This year, it's predicted to be 33 million. Japan has done such a good job maintaining its traditions and customs, ones that often feel very much at odds with the modern world, and it's what makes the country so profoundly rewarding to explore. And there's no doubt unchecked mass tourism, the kind that the country wants, does run the risk of degrading that magic, particularly in cities like Kyoto. Like, I remember filming a video at a sacred mountain temple called Haguro in Yamagata.
Oh,
And at the
that's
time,
so
there was a lot of
pretty.
debate amongst the monks and the
So
local
much snow,
practitioners
so much
at the
snow.
idea of actually sharing it at all and encouraging tourists to visit and experience it. The moment you commercialise aspects of your culture like that is the moment, you run the risk of degrading it. Fortunately, in that case, they kind of struck the right balance by limiting the number of people who could do the tour and using the income they derived from it to help keep those traditions alive. And Kyoto has absolutely benefited from the same thing, opening its doors to all its sacred temples and shrines, mostly without incident, without any problems. With this ban kicking off next month in April, I'll be sad next time I'm in Kyoto, knowing that one of my favourite areas to stroll around is now strictly off limits. And I sort of worry, where will it end? What other areas might...
Did they say how that's gonna work? Is it legit, like, are you gonna get ID'd to go there? That's so weird. I'm wondering if they're just gonna put like a security guard or something and like just start IDing everyone.
Get sort of shut down, not just in Kyoto but around Japan. But at the same time, if it helps preserve the city's identity and more importantly helps geisha feel safe from ill-mannered idiots, then it's absolutely for the best. But what do you think, guys? Is banning tourists a step too far or a necessary evil?
It's
Preserving
so
Kyoto. Let me know in the
fortunate
comments below.
that it
But for now,
becomes a
guys, as always, many thanks for watching. I'll
necessity,
see you
right?
right back here to do it again or abroad in Japan. As for me, now I've discovered the simple thrills of graffiti. I'm going to go and carve a donkey into the wall. Nobody can stop me. I have no friends and I hate myself.
It's gonna be like that